Next one I'm going to go to is Tullamore Dew 12-year-old. Now, for anyone who knows me very well, they accuse me of having a favorite among all my Tullamore Dews. I have 4 children. I now have 7 grandchildren. I assure you I have no favorites among my children, and I absolutely am convinced I don't have any favorites among my whiskey, though people who know me believe that this is my favorite Tullamore Dew. It is true to say that I'm really like that sound. I'm really fond of it. It's obviously a 12-year-old, so the minimum age of the whiskey, minimum amount of time that any of this whiskey has spent in a cask is 12 years. It's a nice purple label. We did have a green label on it. We changed it to purple. I'm sure those of you who know it will know it well. Again, it's the signature blend version of Tullamore Dew. So when we talk about Tullamore's signature blend, it's always about being a triple blend. It's always about there being some grain, some malt, and some pot still. As the blend offers different variants, then for the XO, for example, we will finish it in a rum cask. For the Old Bonded Warehouse, we had a more emphasis on the pot still whiskey. Excuse me. More emphasis on pot still. I'm really sorry. Frog in my throat. More emphasis on pot still whiskey and more emphasis on the sherry cask. And for the 12-year-old, we've taken this a step further again. So I can share with you that 55% of this blend is actually is pot still whiskey. Pot still whiskey, by definition, in the more Dew way of making it, has a greater influence of sherry cask. So if there's more pot still whiskey in this blend, there again is more sherry cask in the blend. And not a drop is under 12 years old. So the difference here, again, from the original or even from the XO or the Old Bonded Warehouse, is quite significant. Now, gone is that vanilla sweetness, and gone is the orange peel influence. This is very much about moving towards dried fruits, moving towards spice, moving towards nuts, Christmas cake. In fact, I've developed a sense that this is much more about chocolate. I call this my chocolate and nuts whiskey, and not everybody agrees with that, but everybody has their own sense of what they're getting from this. But for me, it's about chocolate and nuts, and that's how, if I'm picking it up and I haven't an idea what's in the glass, I'll know immediately it's 12-year-old if it's got a chocolate nuts note to it. I mean, it's spectacular. I have to admit it is. Yeah, maybe it's up there with one of my favorites and all that, but it's got a very particular nose to this. It wins a lot of awards, yes, it does, but it doesn't matter whether a whiskey wins an award or not. If you love it, you'll love it. And what I particularly like about this is the way the flavor changes quite dramatically because, it's 12 years of wood, obviously, so we're going to have a bigger wood influence. But because we've switched to a much bigger influence of the pot still whiskey, and obviously then more sherry cask, it just becomes a different whiskey within the realm of what Tullamore Dew might taste like. It's still got that complexity. It's still got some sweetness, but it's more, as I said, more a chocolate and nut sweetness rather than a vanilla sweetness. I love that about it. Some people have said it's almost got a cigar smoke touch to it. And I think on the palate, that dryness can come through. I don't get it on the nose. Some people do. No, I don't get it on the nose. For some people, it's there. For many people, it's the dried fruits. For many people, it's the spice. And that makes an awful lot of sense in terms of the predominance of sherry cask. But for me, I'm trying to translate it into a flavor note that suits my palate and my nose. And as I say, for me, it's once I tasted it, chocolate and nuts come to mind, praline, that kind of thing comes to mind every time.